WZBN Channel 25 are dedicated to serving the many communities within our area. One thing that is very apparent is the increase of violence in the country and this area as well. WIMG and WZBN are dedicated to do their part constructively to put a halt to the escalation of crime. And now, the moderator for this evening's program.
And welcome to Violence Serves No Purpose. I am your host, Jacque Howard. You are listening to WIMG 1300 on the AM dial and on the internet, WIMG1300.com. And if you're watching on television, it's WZBN Channel 25 in Mercer County, New Jersey. So this is Violence Serves No Purpose, and those of you who know the guests that I usually bring on, we'd like to mix things up a little bit. You've heard me with some comedians, some artists, etc. Now it's time to introduce an event that's going to come up, and it's also a way of life. And with that, I'd like to welcome to the program Trenton Cycling Revolution's current chair, TCR, Dan Fatton. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jacque.
Thank you very much, and you're welcome. So, Dan, briefly, just tell me a little bit about what brought you to Trenton and just a little bit about your background.
Sure. I moved to Trenton about 5 years ago. I bought a home in Mill Hill neighborhood, and I started working with a nonprofit in the city and commuting to the office using my bike. And immediately, I guess, I started getting noticed because I was wearing my helmet. And in Trenton, we're always trying to encourage people to ride safely. And some of the people who had founded the Trenton Cycling Revolution, which is our city's, basically it's a volunteer advocacy group that advocates for pedestrian and bike issues, they approached me and tried to get me involved in Trenton Cycling Revolution. And that was 3 years ago now. I've been the chair for 3 years. And
a very good chair,
yes,
too, by the way.
Thank you. It's been a good experience.
Okay, and that nonprofit that brought you to Trenton, what's the name of that organization?
So I work for New Jersey Future. It's a land use nonprofit. We do research and advocacy work, trying to promote the protection of open space and the redevelopment of places like Trenton. We try to encourage development in existing infrastructure areas, near transit stations, et cetera, et cetera.
All right. Good. And is there a website for New Jersey Futures?
Of course. We're njfuture.org. And I didn't mention that Trenton Cycling is trentoncycling.org.
Awesome. Well, we get lots of opportunity to plug Trenton Cycling Revolution and trentoncycling.org. So while we're talking about that, what is TCR in an elevator speech?
Sure. We're a bunch of citizens and residents who are advocating for safer streets for all Trenton users. So we want to create a safe and healthy environment for people who are riding their bikes, who are walking the streets, and also for people who are driving their cars. And we do that through education, through engagement with the community, and advocacy and promotion. And our biggest event of the year is the Trenton Bike Tour.
Okay, we'll get into the Trenton Bike Tour in a little bit. But back to TCR. So what's it take to become a member? Is there a dues that you have to pay? Do you have to live within the city limits? What is that?
We have a very broad definition of membership, and we are always encouraging people to get engaged and get involved. There's no membership dues. It's free. We meet once a month, and anyone is welcome. Those who live in the city, but also those who work in the city, who maybe used to live in the city and live in a neighboring community. We want people who are interested in promoting bicycling and pedestrian safety in the city, and it doesn't really matter where you live, as long as you're interested in making Trenton a safer place for people to bike.
Absolutely, and that goes for children as well. Can families join? Is it a family-friendly organization?
I would say that we're always happy to take volunteers for events, and I'm not sure how interesting some of our meetings would be for little kids, but if you're a college-age student or even a high school student and you're interested in biking, then certainly you'd be welcome to come to our meetings and talk about bike issues in the city and how we make it better for bikers within Trenton.
Awesome. And just to let you know, you're listening to WIMG 1300 AM and over the internet, WIMG1300.com. And if you're watching on television, WZBN Channel 25 in Mercer County. And the name of the program is Violence Serves No Purpose. And I'm speaking with Dan Fatton, the current chair of Trenton Cycling Revolution, also known as TCR, which is a bicycling and walking advocacy group, correct?
Yes, perfect.
All right. So, Dan, we all know that organizations need help. So what are some of the other organizations, not specifically with the bike tour, but other organizations that are doing something similar in the Trenton and in the region with bicycle and walking advocacy?
Sure. Well, the Greater Mercer Transportation Management Association is a regional organization. They have offices in Princeton, and they do a really great job of promoting biking and walking. This is actually National Bike to Work Week, so they're running an event encouraging people to ride your bike to your office and back home, theoretically. And they do a great job of promoting that event. They do breakfasts for people who are biking. I think today was in Princeton, and tomorrow we'll be at the Trenton Transit Station handing out free breakfast for people who are commuting by bike. And we'll give out information about bike trails, we'll have free coffee, free bagels. So anybody who's either biking through the transit station or by the transit station should stop by to see us. And there's also some advocacy groups that are more bike club oriented. So these are groups that meet to do regular rides. The Princeton Freewheelers, the Central Bucks Cycling Club, and there's a couple other organizations that do rides in the vicinity of Trenton. But we are the only, as far as I know, Trenton-based bike organization. There is also the Bike Exchange, which the Trenton Boys and Girls Club runs up out of Ewing, and that's on Olden Avenue, where you can go get a fixed-up bike for a pretty fair price, and the proceeds of that actually benefit the Boys and Girls Club.
And they also accept donations as well, correct?
Of course, and they do bike drives, so if you have a company and you want to get people to come in and donate bicycles, they'll be happy to put them to use and then get them back out to people who want to use them.
Now, Dan, you actually brought up Bike to Work Week. In addition to that, how does that tie into the Complete Streets program, and what is that?
Sure. So Complete Streets, for those who don't know, this is sort of a planning terminology. It's a concept, and it means that when we design a street, or if when we're paving a road, we want to consider the needs of all users. So it's not we don't want to be just building roads for cars. Although we're not getting rid of the automobile anytime soon. We want to be considering the pedestrians who are using the crosswalks, the bikers who may be using the side of the road, and so it's a more holistic concept of planning and building our roads, where you're thinking about the needs of all users. And here in Trenton, on March 1st, the City Council actually passed a policy unanimously, which was great. And so now city streets are in moving forward for new construction projects and for repaving projects, the needs of all users should be considered. And that's really important in a city like Trenton, where close to 30% of the households in our city do not own a car or have access to a car. Well, they do not own a car, but so there's a real demonstrated need of people who are biking or walking either to work, to the store, taking their kids to school. And so, City Council stepped up, and we had a wide coalition of groups who were supporting that policy. And they passed, one of the better policies for the state. Mercer County recently enacted a Complete Streets policy as well. And the New Jersey Department of Transportation passed their own policy back in 2009. So what that means is that right now, every street, county, state, or city within the limits of the city of Trenton is covered by a Complete Streets policy, and I think that's a really that's a testament to the work of a lot of the advocates within our community.
That's great. And I was with Mayor Mack and some others at one of his town halls this week, and one of the issues that came up was paving the streets. So there is an initiative in the city, and I believe they've started in the North Ward doing some paving. They're going to be doing paving of streets throughout the different wards in Trenton. This is something that's already in place, and I'm assuming that Complete Streets, the whole concept that'll be factored into actually some bike lanes, curb cutouts, and things like that?
That's what we're hopeful for, and we are in the process of setting up a training for the staff of the city. So that's the planning department, the traffic engineer, some of the public works guys, and we're going to do a training with some state experts on Complete Streets so that they can sort of analyze what the process is when you do pave a street. How do we consider the needs of all users, and what does this policy actually mean, and how do we implement it? So that's going to take place this summer. And road projects, a lot of times they take years from the concept to when you finalize, as many of us in the city know. So I think it may be some time before we really see a comprehensive bike lane system, but the goal here is to start considering the needs and start trying to put together a network of roads where it's easier and safer for people to bike and walk. And that might just be crosswalks. It may be bike lanes.
Okay. And that's interesting because that leads always to one of my main subjects, and that is for people to get involved. We can't expect city officials or state officials to always do something for us, although they work for us, and we fund them through our taxes and so forth, but we've got to step out. We've got to be held responsible for ourselves. If you feel that there's an unsafe intersection, or you want to ride your bike to work or to the park, and you realize that, hey, there's a very dangerous intersection here, make a phone call. Get in contact with your city council members, find out some other people on your block or in your neighborhood, and see if they want to get involved and go down together and join TCR. It's a free local organization, and we're bicycle enthusiasts as well.
I think that's great advice. You know, we've also talked, hopefully next year we're going to put together a sort of walk audit where we'll go around city streets and analyze where are the missing links, where are there broken up sidewalks that need to be fixed or crosswalks that aren't painted at all. And we're going to try to help the city put together a plan for making a more comprehensive network that works for all of the users in the city. So, if people are interested, they can always get involved through TCR. There's actually a green team effort trying to get the city certified in sustainable Jersey. So, there's a couple of different groups who are working to make the city better for everybody who lives here, and TCR is one piece of that. I think the walk audit will be a nice way to partner with the city and to help make our streets safer.
And that's a wonderful thing because, again, action. I mean, most people, you want to drive Jacque Howard crazy, put him into a meeting for 2 hours and nothing gets accomplished. But if you tell me, hey, we're going to meet for an hour, we're going to set some very specific plans and goals, I'm in it 100%. And this sounds like exactly what you're doing. You're walking and talking, the talk and the walk. So the walk audit of city streets, and that is pretty interesting because that's something that most people can do. Even if they are they have a health issue, they can walk a block or so, or see what's going on in their neighborhood, and maybe realize that there's a tree where the roots are busting up the concrete, so that needs to get changed. So the walk audit is a really good idea, and I'm looking forward to seeing how TCR is going to work with the city in regards to that. So we've been speaking about the Trenton Cycling Revolution, and after the break, we're going to be having a conversation with Dan Fatton, the chair of Trenton Cycling Revolution, and we're going to be talking about the upcoming Trenton Bike Tour, which is in its 16th year.
This is the 16th year.
16th year of a bike tour that's going to bring several hundred people who are biking enthusiasts and general bikers into the city, and they're going to get a historic ride through some wonderful neighborhoods led by some really committed Trentonians, etc. So before we come to the break, I just want to share a couple of websites for you to take a look at, or at least to put in your mind. TrentonCycling.org, that is Trenton Cycling Revolution's website. Again, this is a free organization. It's very open as far as who wants to join. You don't have to live in Trenton. You don't have to be of a certain age. It's a bicycling-friendly advocacy group organization. In addition to that, we can also look at the city's green team, which I think we should put out there. We can just Google Trenton Green Team. And we can also take a look at the Complete Streets program, the concept and the terminology, all of which will be tied into Trenton Cycling Revolution. And Dan, before we go to the break, is there anything else you want to add before we get into the bike tour?
Well, I think that's a great overview of who TCR is. I'd like to just reiterate that it's a group effort, and I'm the chairperson, but there's people who've been involved with this group for close to 15 years. So it's Lisa Kasabak and Trish Long and Helen Dudar and Jay Watson, Alicia Welch-Chester. There's a whole committee of people who really make the bike tour happen and who have made TCR, be a successful advocacy organization. And, I'm forgetting people, of course, like Jim Simon, but and Jacque Howard and many people who are involved. So it's a group effort.
Excellent. And Dave Byers as well. Well, what I'd like to say, because we're literally just up on the break now, is that you've been listening to WIMG 1300 AM. and over the internet, WIMG1300.com. And if you're watching over television, it's WZBN Channel 25 in Mercer County, New Jersey. The name of this program is Violence Serves No Purpose. And I've been speaking with Dan Fatton of the Trenton Cycling Revolution about bicycling in the city of Trenton, safe streets, etc. And after the break, we're going to talk about the 16th annual Trenton Bike Tour. See you after the break.
Walk blindly to the light and reach out for his hand. Don't ask any questions and don't try to understand. Open up your mind and then open up your heart.
If you're watching your wallet like most of us, then here's a family vacation offer from Caribbean Cruise Line. Imagine your family on a luxurious vacation to the Bahamas, including your cabin, all your meals, full spa, casino, live entertainment, 3 kids clubs, a kids water park, and more. Now imagine getting this amazing vacation deal for only $59 per person. This cruise has a full retail value of $500 and it's yours for just $59. We guarantee your family will love this vacation offer and you'll love the price at just $59 per person for a $500 all-inclusive cruise to the Bahamas. Call right now. Book your cruise vacation. Space is limited. Call 800-364-3055, 800-364-3055, 800-364-3055, 800-364-3055.
Walk blindly to the light and reach out for his hand. Don't ask
Welcome back after the break. This is WIMG 1300 AM and WIMG1300.com and television WZBN Channel 25 in Mercer County, New Jersey. And you're listening to the program Violence Serves No Purpose. I am your host, Jacque Howard, and I am speaking with Trenton Cycling Revolution's current chair, Dan Fatton. And we've been talking about bicycling in the county, the state, some of the organizations that are bicycle friendly and bicycle advocacy groups. But now we want to get into the main reason why I wanted to have Dan be my guest, and that's to talk about the Trenton Bike Tour. So Dan, just jump right in and tell me a little bit about the bike tour.
So like we said earlier, this is the 16th annual year for the Trenton Bike Tour. It's a 15-mile ride, and we go all throughout the city. So it's Trenton-based, and we go through lots of neighborhoods, many of the parks in the city, and it's family-friendly. We have a police escort who helps us through some of the intersections. You know, we cross over Route 29, and the police help us make that a safe transition. And you see, it's a nice way to see the city because you're going through neighborhoods, you're seeing the architecture, you're seeing the historic sites, and it's a pretty slow pace, so it's good for even people with little kids. It's not a professional bike ride; it's a tour, and it's leisurely. But it's a great way to see the city because you're moving much slower than you would in a car. You're getting some fresh air. Hopefully the weather report looks good, so it should be a very nice day for a bike ride.
And where is the tour going to start, and what is the exact date and time?
So it's this coming Saturday, May 19th, and we will meet at the William Trent House, which is right off of Market Street when you get on off of 29. It's 15 Market Street if you're going to use a GPS or something. And we will meet at 8:30 for registration. We have Mama Yoga coming to do stretching in the morning and get us warmed up. And then the ride begins at 9 a.m., so it's a pretty quick registration period. You can pre-register on our website, and then that sort of enables you to just come in, pick up your T-shirt, do some stretches with Mama Yoga, and then we'll be on the way by 9 a.m.
Okay, and that website is trentoncycling.org. It's a very interactive website. You can see some photographs and in a timeline almost of the last couple of years, some of the partners involved with the ride, etc. So back to the actual beginning of the ride. So it's 8:30 a.m., beginning at the William Trent House.
Correct.
And stretching with Mama Yoga. and then we're going to start the ride at 9 a.m. Approximately what time do you think the ride is going to finish?
So we should be done by 11:30 or 12 at the absolute latest. It's 15 miles, so it's not a real long ride, but there is some stopping because we try to keep the group together. There's about 200 participants usually, and that means that it sometimes takes some time to get through the entire city. We take a nice break, probably about a half hour at the rest area. So there is a little bit of a break in the middle of that ride, but it's about 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Okay, and that break is going to be approximately where?
At Columbus Park, which is around halfway through the ride, and we'll be right in the middle of the park. We're going to have some refreshments. We're going to have some entertainment, hopefully. And it should be, those who are not riding are welcome to come over to the rest area. We should be there by about 10 a.m. at Columbus Park.
All right, fantastic. And a shout out to the Bethany House of Hospitality, whose residents, some of them have actually committed to helping out Trenton Cycling Revolution by providing help at the rest area with Dan and the rest of the folks who will be there. Is this a guided tour, meaning just explain how the ride process is going to happen? Is there going to be a map that's handed out, or are there going to be people who are going to lead the ride?
So we have ride marshals. There's volunteers from Trenton Cycling Revolution and also from the Princeton Freewheelers who will, sort of guide riders and help you stay on the path. And the police actually are great partners for this. The Trenton Police Department helps to sort of guide us through major intersections and make sure that people stay riding safely. But there are no tour guides. You're not going to get, a running history of buildings as we go unless you are, next to some type of docent. Maybe if you ride with Jeff Laurenti, you'll get some in-depth history. But mostly this is you'll have a cue sheet, and that'll give you some directions on where to turn. And we try to throw in a little bit of historical facts within that cue sheet, but it's mostly going to be sightseeing.
All right, that's good. I want to say that you're listening to WIMG 1300 AM, WZBN Channel 25, Mercer County on television, and globally on the internet at WIMG1300.com. I'm Jacque Howard, and I'm speaking with Dan Fatton from Trenton Cycling Revolution, and we're talking about the 2012 Trenton Bike Tour. It's a 15-mile leisurely ride throughout Trenton. It's a guided tour, meaning there will be ride marshals there. Who some of the organizations involved also will be the Princeton Freewheelers. Can you also tell me a little bit about some of the sponsors of this event? Because we know that we can't get anything done in this day and age without a big bank account, and the only way that we can get a really big bank account is through partnerships. And who are the partners and the sponsors for this ride?
So this year we are really blessed to have the Princeton Area Community Foundation helping to sponsor this ride, and they've really enabled us to take it to a new level for the artwork for the Trenton Bike Tour poster and the T-shirts. We were able to commission a local artist to make the artwork. Leon Rainbow did a great design for our poster, and that was. And Dan,
really... I want to just interrupt you here. For the folks who are interested in art and different types of art. Google Leon Rainbow and just see some of the work that he's doing with Will Casso and also the Sage Collective. They're doing some wonderful alternative types of artwork, a lot of graffiti and some other things, but they're doing fabulous stuff, and they're hidden gems to the region and the nation. But those of us in this area, we really have some very special, talented artists here, and we need to pay attention to them, not just the traditional arts, but also we have to focus on some of the other arts as well. I'm sorry, Dan, so go ahead.
No, point well taken. So PSEF really helped us to step it up a little bit. We're going to have some surprise entertainment at the rest area, and that was really enabled by their support. Some of our other sponsors are ShopRite, who's been a longtime supporter, the Capital Health Hospital, and AAA, as well as Isles. So there's a nice broad cross-section of supporters who donate money, and then we have some partners as well. So Knapp Cyclery, who's up on Princeton Avenue, they provide SAG support, and that means that they follow the tour, and if anybody's bike will break down, they can help you. They do a bike check in the morning, so from between 8:30 and 9 you can get your wheels checked to make sure that your pressure is all ready to go for a 15-mile ride. Peak, the Pennington Ewing Athletic Club, helps us print the T-shirts, and gets us a phenomenal price on the shirts so that the first 100 registrants will have a free T-shirt. And the Trenton Boys and Girls Club has been really instrumental. They help us insure the ride. They make sure that we have volunteers for the rest area, and a portion of the proceeds benefit the Keystone Club. And the Keystone Club is the leadership group, the high school kids at the Boys and Girls Club. We help to support their annual trip to the National Conference for Keystoners. And it's been a great partnership working with Dave Anderson and the kids at the Boys and Girls Club.
Now, you mentioned again about Knapp's Cyclery and the fact that they'll do like a bike check and make sure some of the minor things are okay. What kind of bikes can we plan to see, number one, and what kind of bike do you suggest people use for this ride?
I think you'll see a wide cross-section of bicycle types, anything from BMX to hybrids to even road bikes. I would actually suggest going with a road bike or a mountain bike for this ride. It's not super hilly, but we do go a little bit onto trails. We do a section of the DNR Canal Path. We do a section in Stacy Park along the river where a road bike is not going to be ideal. So, you can do it, but in the past, I think some serious riders have been a little disturbed because we're not always on the road.
Okay. So to mention that again, this ride is for all different types of bikes, but just bear in mind that it is a hybrid or a mountain bike will probably work out better because there is some off-roading that takes place, and depending on the weather that we have leading up into the ride, it could be muddy in some spots, and if you have a traditional road bike, you may have some problems, and we don't want anybody to be discouraged. Most people who have road bikes also have an alternative bike, so think about bringing that. Dan did say that there's going to be some BMX bikes there, so a shout out to all the guys who are riding the BMX bikes, but also keep in mind that there are some, I guess, recumbent bikes that we could probably see as well.
We usually have a couple of interesting bikes. So, usually the groomers will come down. They ride a two-person sort of tandem bike. One person's pedaling, one person's and Ann Croomer's using her arms. So, you'll see a few really interesting bikes on the tour, probably some tandem bikes, but mostly it's going to be families who are just out for a sort of leisurely ride through the city. It's an interesting way to see Trenton.
And that's going to take place during the day, and we're anticipating to be done the ride by noontime, and then one of my favorite locations, I'm going to give them a plug, or maybe you can. What's going to happen after the ride?
So after the ride, Trenton Social, which is right over on Broad Street, is offering a 20% discount to anybody who participates in the ride, and they actually have a really awesome art exhibit that's happening right now. So you can go grab a burger, get a nice salad, drink a beer, do whatever. You'll get 20% off your bill, and you get to enjoy the bicycle art that's been on display at Trenton Social.
Fantastic. And let me see if there's anything else that we didn't cover here. We talked about our sponsors, AAA, Capital Health, Isles, Boys and Girls Club, ShopRite. Did I miss any?
And the Princeton Area Community Foundation is pretty key, and then Knapp's, of course, because they're doing the SAG support. So it's a nice group of support, and it's a real community effort. And the idea here is that we're getting people into the city, riding bikes. For health reasons, this is important to get people active. We have a major obesity epidemic in our city, and we want to make sure that it's safe for people to bike, and this is a good way to show how you ride safely. It's environmentally friendly, no emissions when you're riding your bike, and it's also an economic development thing because we are bringing approximately 200 people into the city for the tour. About half are probably actually Trenton residents, but it's getting people involved and engaged in a community event in our capital, and I think that's important.
And that's a perfect way to close up. You've been listening to Violence Serves No Purpose, and I've been speaking with Dan Fatton from the Trenton Cycling Revolution, and the website is trentoncycling.org. We've been talking about bicycling and walking advocacy groups, as well as the 16th annual Trenton Bike Tour, which is going to take place this coming Saturday, May 19th, beginning at the Trent House in downtown Trenton at 8:30 a.m. is registration, so go to trentoncycling.org and get some information there. I also want to say that you are listening to WIMG 1300 AM, and over the internet, WIMG1300.com. And if you're watching over television, it's WZBN Channel 25. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you.
blindly to the light and reach out for his hand.